7:05. He needs to spill his coffee no later than 7:05. This week, Brandon's coming over, and we're going to do a retro review of the Adjustment Bureau. But before that, if it's your first time here, the whole reason this channel exists is because I, Mr. Super Oz, wrote a 68-page graphic novel, Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. There are 2 covers, the Jeff Hicks cover and the Crook cover. There are limited quantities still available at Etsy.com, so go pick up your copy because these covers will never be printed again. There are 2 new covers coming to the relaunch. So, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the review. Excuse me. I'm tired, man.
Hey, me too. Trust me, I'm really tired too.
But I think that that's actually beneficial for this review. Because being tired, being overworked, is very much a part of the Adjustment Bureau. So, had you seen this before I recommended it?
Nope, not at all. I just remember seeing the trailer, thought it was interesting, like when it first came out, but just never got around to it.
For sure, yeah. I didn't see it in theaters. I got it on DVD when it was released. But I swear I've watched this thing at least a dozen times before preparing for this review. And in preparation for the review, I watched it twice in 1 week. That was by sheer accident because I was talking about how that me and you were going to do this, and a mutual friend was intrigued about all the stuff I was talking about. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pop it on right now." So I just sat down and enjoyed it once again because for everybody who was here for the Peacemaker review, you might recall I took a lot of notes. Well, this movie I took way more notes. But unlike Peacemaker, where in that review I said on about every page I hate these people, on about every page I said that I just love the way these characters are written. I love how they interact. And, spoiler alert, I love this freaking movie. So, first note, I said this open does a really good job of humanizing the politician of David North. Jon Stewart helps with that tremendously, helping to make light of his shortcomings as a person. And second note, Anthony Mackie. The mystery of him watching Matt Damon's character give a speech. He's intriguing. Our friend who was watching it thought he was against him because he had his arms crossed and he wasn't clapping with everybody else. He was like, "Oh, he's out to get him," which I thought was funny because
totally opposite.
Yeah, exactly, totally opposite. Anthony Mackie is 100% on David's side, but yeah, I love how he's humble and accepting his loss calmly, and he's just a great hero. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, what were you gonna say?
So I have a lot to say about this movie. I think my major complaint about this movie, and I have a big one.
Okay.
So I know that you're gonna probably
I'm
feel
listening.
upset.
I'm not.
But my major complaint about this movie is
I
wish that people saw this movie and then would just do little anthologies because this concept about everything that they're doing is so good. I'm being jokey, by the way. I love this movie.
Yeah, I noticed.
I'm actually happy that but I love the concept of they take a concept with the Matrix with the doors. Yes. I always thought that concept was really cool, but the Matrix never really expounded upon that much. But this movie does, and it gives like reasons to want to go through. Right, with the hat, you need a hat to go through it. I like this film because it doesn't waste your time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. But you can continue on.
Oh, absolutely. No, interject all you'd like. Mm-hmm. So my next note is how that it's a great introduction for Emily Blunt. So David, Matt Damon's character, he's practicing his speech. He's being...
Because he lost.
Exactly.
Yeah, he lost.
He's being the bigger man. He's talking about how that, we should all rally behind the guy who beat me. Mm-hmm. And so... he's doing that in the men's restroom, and in the course of him practicing, Emily Blunt walks out of one of the stalls, and he's like, this is the men's room, right? And she was like, well, yeah, but when you said hello, I didn't know what to do. Oh my goodness.
She was like, it will be awkward, so I just thought, like, you know what, but now I just need to come out.
And it's still awkward. Oh
right, but she said, I just need to come out.
Yeah, so he asked her what she's doing. She's hiding from security, said she was dared to crash her wedding. Love this line. He said, well, who dared you? She said, I did.
Yeah, you could initially see the spark between them. It's like magnetic, like the spark. It doesn't. Yeah, you just buy it.
So my next note says, I enjoy how she feels like she already knows him. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they have that spark. She gives him a spontaneous kiss, and I said, I swear this is so fun. So his campaign manager Charlie walks in, and he asks who was that. David laughs and says he doesn't know. But yeah, it's so much about the interaction of these characters. So I keep saying Emily Blunt because we have yet to be introduced to her by name. But yeah, so her character, Charlie, the campaign manager, and David, they just feel so natural. And David and Charlie's relationship will be expounded upon here shortly in a phone call. When that happens, I was like, I totally buy these guys are friends. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so after we meet Emily Blunt in the restroom, next scene we cut to David giving his concession speech in front of a packed house. Mm-hmm. And in it, he gives a manufactured line about, where I come from, blah, blah, blah. But the best part is, he then says, it's bullshit.
Right.
He says it calmly and laid back and just so matter of fact. It was like, it was made up.
You're right. And he's sincere about everything that went on to his life about the boot scuff. He's like, do you know that I had somebody reference how much scuffing of my shoes you actually need to be a part of the people?
Yeah. Yeah. And the awesome part is that... even before we get to the phone call, he speaks to Charlie off stage. He's like, how much did we pay them? That was $7,300, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh my goodness. The guy is so... I wrote here, like, that shoe scene where David outs how dishonest campaigns are. Damn. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it just, like I said, it humanizes a politician, people who are typically treated as untouchable or... bigger and better and all that. The whole introductory scenes makes David feel like he's a man of the people. Mm-hmm. And even that it continues as the film progresses, because anytime he's out and about and on the street, the people always come up to him and say, really appreciate what you did there. So after he gives his concession speech, we cut to a park bench out in, it is the park bench, right?
Right, in New York, yeah.
So Anthony Mackie's character is sitting there, and his boss walks up and lets him know, just like I said at the intro, that David must spill his coffee before 7:05. And Anthony Mackie let him know he's got him, no problem.
Mm-hmm. And you'll figure out the reason why. And it is an important reason why he needs that coffee spilled at that time. He's like, no later than 7:05.
Exactly.
He's like, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, easy job. But so this is the note about what I was saying about Charlie and David's friendship. So Charlie calls up David and tells him, hey, you're gonna get a call on this number. And David starts telling him how hey, the news was just talking about you. And he's like, oh, what were they saying? Oh, they're saying how bald you are. He's like, it's weird because it was a financial show. Freaking love that. Just felt like friends, being friends.
Mm-hmm.
So so after that, we see that Anthony Mackie's character has fallen asleep, which my next line is, I love every damn scene. Oh my goodness. So, because Anthony Mackie has fallen asleep on the park bench, David Norris has walked past him, gotten on the bus, and not spilled his coffee. Very important, because on the bus is... Who's on the bus?
Emily Blunt's character. Oh! Hasn't been named yet, but yes, Emily Blunt's character.
Exactly.
And David walks up to her, is like, oh, she's asleep. She's asleep. So he walks up, sits next to her, and then stares at her thighs.
But here's the best part. So she wakes up and she's like, have we met? And he said, Waldorf men's room.
Yeah.
Which, again, I just love every line. Oh my goodness.
And then, she's like, oh, were you looking at my legs? He's like, hey,
I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I couldn't resist.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so, it was great.
At the same time that this reintroduction of our two protagonists, or two primary protagonists, is occurring, Anthony Mackie wakes up and realizes, oh crap, I missed my chance, and he's running after the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so David's phone is ringing, and I thought this was a great line. Emily Blunt says that really augments, or one of them says it really augments, I think it was her, that augments the moment? No, it was him. Anyway, they bring up the fact how the phone ringing is a pain in the ass to their getting back together, which is so true. Because technology can be a pain in the behind sometimes, but hey, we're using it to try and
communicate with you, the audience.
Exactly.
So has its pluses.
Exactly, it does have its pluses. But yeah, so Anthony Mackie is not giving up. He's trying, but he screws it up. He makes David spill his coffee, but now it's on Emily Blunt, and it's. Oh, then a car hits Anthony Mackie.
Right.
Oh my goodness, my friend. Or our friend, when he was watching, he was like, "Oh my God, he's dead," not knowing that he can take a beating.
Mm-hmm.
But
the important thing is, you see the notebook that he was carrying is open, and it doesn't look like ordinary notebook, like what's written inside. It looks like kind of like a map.
Yeah,
of
and
some sort.
It has the path.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So since the phone won't stop ringing, Emily Blunt drops David's phone in his coffee. Oh my goodness. So the bus stops. She begins to get off, and David says that the morning after the election, you were what was on my mind, and she flips him off, which is just, it's playful, it's fun, it just feels, because what's she gonna do? She's not gonna be like, oh, and faint. No, she's gonna play it up and have a good time. Mm-hmm. These people just feel like people.
Oh, and then the next scene, I love this. I love when David walks into the office and he doesn't even realize that everybody's frozen still. He's just saying, hi guys, how are you? Hey, how's it going? And he doesn't realize that everybody's frozen. It's kind of scary.
Well, here's what I wrote. I said, David, oblivious, everyone is frozen. And then I said, isn't love grand?
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, because he is head over heels.
Yeah, right, and so that's the way I took it. Is because, like he said, he's thinking of her after the election. So, of course, if he sees her on the bus and he passes that message along, of course he's not going to care that, CZQ or, Billy Bob are over here doing whatever they're doing. He's like, oh, she's all that's on his mind.
Okay, I didn't even think about it like that. I just thought we are so used to the mundane.
Oh,
that he's just he just walks in the office and does the same thing but not realize. That's how I took it, but that makes sense too.
Yeah, I think it works on both levels.
Right.
Whether it is...
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But in multiple ways you can understand why he doesn't realize something that shouldn't be happening is happening. Because I know this is jumping way, way ahead, but when Anthony Mackie talks to David Norris in the bar, he says, your whole world has been turned upside down and all you're thinking about is a woman.
Yes.
And I was just like, that is so freaking true. I kind of jumped ahead. Okay, so after David Norris walks past all of the people that were frozen, he gets to Charlie's office and he sees that these men in black, if you will, these men in suits, the government types, are messing with his friend's head. Like, what are they doing? Lobotomizing him? My goodness. So, and so the man in charge says, get him. And then they all start chasing him.
Yeah.
Every time he goes to a new corridor or goes down a hallway or whatever, they're there again. What the heck? And so Anthony Mackie knocks out...
and the guy who's wearing the hat is Tony Stark's dad from Iron Man.
Oh, that's fun.
But yeah, so when I watched this movie, I was like, hey, that's Tony Stark's dad, but that's the actor. And he's like, hey, stop him. And he's behind every corner just waiting for him. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you're cool. So I was just going to say, Anthony Mackie is the guy who stops David Norris from running. And when he wakes up... so they're trying to come up with a plan. Like, what do we do? He saw what we were doing, and one of the men in the suits, they tell another one. They were like, just bullshit him. And Tony Stark's dad's like, he's never gonna believe that.
Look at his profile. Yes.
Which is so true. Like, if somebody comes up and they're like, hey, you know that thing you just saw? Without the actual Men in Black, flashy thing, I don't see how they could make it happen. And so
a guy says, you know what, just level with them, just like the guy that we did so years
40
ago.
years ago, yeah. So that's
like, okay,
at 25 minutes, 17 seconds, it's told to David Norris that we are the people who make sure things happen according to plan. And David says, oh, okay, and gets up and runs away because he's like, what are you talking about? Y'all are crazy.
Yeah.
And so, again, why wouldn't you do that? They'd be like, y'all attack me, you mess with my friend, I'm getting out of here. But he can't get out of there because these folks have powers. Raise a couple fingers, boom, a tile trips him. Now he's back in the chair. So, then we do a mind exercise where Tony Stark's pops, I think his name was Richardson.
Yeah.
He plays a game. He's like, think of a number, 17, color, blue, and all these different things to prove to David that he can read his mind. And he's like, why are you still thinking about running? Quit that.
Yeah.
So it's passed along to David that he was not supposed to be with Elise. That's Emily Blunt's character. Or he wasn't supposed to see her after the election night. So he take her phone number out of his wallet because she gave it to him.
Yep.
And light it on fire.
Yep, and burn it.
And he's so devastated. It feels real. Like if you when you meet the right person and hey, everything's gonna be good, and then things fall apart, of course you're gonna be hurt by that. So after they burn the number and they tell him, hey, you can't talk about this, we're gonna fry your brain. They're throwing him back in the office where Charlie and him were gonna have a meeting. So after the meeting. And this is one of the things, I mean, not just the phone call and not just the shout out from the stage, but Charlie really proved to me that he is David's friend, because after the business meeting, he goes to David in his office and he says, why are you smiling ear to ear? You just bumped back into the woman of your dreams. And, David, having to tell him something, says that, I lost the number. Yep. Because he can't tell him the truth, they already said we're going to mess up your head.
Yeah, we'll fry your freaking brain. Yes.
So after the meeting and after that conversation, David is in a bar and he's trying everything. He's got the area code and he's got the first three numbers, but he's like, okay, was it this number? Was it that? And that's when Anthony Mackie comes up to him. He's like, like I said a minute ago, your whole world gets turned upside down and all you're doing is thinking about a woman. Yep. And so it's right and it's good, and I freaking love Anthony Mackie. He's such a good dude.
And he says, hey, if you want answers, come to the pier at this time and I'll answer your questions. Which is really nice of him to do. He doesn't have to do that at all. Oh, yeah, exactly. Which is really endearing to Anthony Mackie's character.
I love one of David's first questions to Harry, Anthony Mackie. He says, are you an angel? And he says, we've been called that. So it sets up that the Adjustment Bureau he says they're kind of like caseworkers, where they're told, hey, this is what we need to have happen, and we keep things on course. But whatever supernatural way you want to look at it, like I said, angels or whatever, we're here to help. And so I think that's an interesting way of dealing with the extraordinary. So while David is talking with Harry, Harry says, "You're gonna go look for her, aren't you?" And he said, "Even if they weren't trying to stop you, there are 9 million people in this city." And so when I saw that, when I heard that, I mean, I wrote it down. I was like, man, that's so intelligent, because whether it's New York or anywhere, it is hard as heck to find people even if you know where they're going to be and at what time and all this stuff. It's like, just life gets in the way. But
right.
Now there's an outside force that is fighting you. How is there any hope?
Right. But Anthony Mackie also kind of talks about their rules, like they're meeting near water.
Yes.
Because it blocks, for some reason, he's like, it just blocks our senses where
well,
we
and what they call their boss is the chairman. He says, the chairman limits their abilities with water and making it so they have to use, which that hasn't been revealed yet, but
right.
that making it so that they have to use the hats to do the thing. But once all of the ground rules have been laid out, we then jump 3 years into the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're back with David. He's on the bus, same bus where he saw Elise. And while he's riding, he sees her walking on the sidewalk. Stops the bus, runs after her, like... when they meet back up, his phone starts ringing again, as if someone was against them. And so, it was great. She says, "You just hung up on your friend." He says, "We've known each other since we were kids. We have a shorthand," which is great. I mean, I keep, every page I say, this is so well written. I love these people. I love how they interact. Like, even with Elise, she says, "My number hasn't changed. Just call me this time like you did in the last time." I was like, damn, that's a good line.
Yep. And he's like, "Well, I can't." She's like, "Why?" What? And yeah, he says that he's been mugged, which technically he's not really wrong.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, again, he's so intelligent about how that he works around the confines of the rules he's been given. Hey, you can't tell anybody about us. He's like, all right, I didn't tell them about you, but I'm telling them what happened, basically.
Right. Yep.
And so, so all the Adjustment Bureau folks, the men in the hats, they're getting notifications. They're figuring out how'd they get back together, and one passes on to the other. It was just chance.
Chance, right? He did the same thing for 3 years. It's like, it's just by random chance. But yes.
They're like, yeah. And so, so one passes on to the other. He said, "We can't let them kiss." Like, what do you mean a kiss? What's that matter? He's like, "Well, one real kiss and all our plans are screwed." And it just feels like to me that the Adjustment Bureau does not understand the idea of love. Now, Harry understands attachment and affection, but it seems to me like they don't understand how somebody can think that someone is the one, or that there's even a possibility of...
Okay.
I have that feeling that they're because later on in the film, when David has a thought when they're discussing a plan, and he's like, "Oh, what if I just knock the hat off?" Oh, Harry's like, "Oh, well, we're not made to think like that." So I think not only not made to think aggressively, improvisationally, but I think they're also not emotionally equipped to understand what he's experiencing.
Oh, okay, right, because it's basically black and white. That's why they can't see chance or understand that, because
for sure,
right there, it's out of their realm of yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Well, so their thing is going off, yes. And they're like, "Oh crap, we gotta break them up." So phone keeps ringing. Everything that could possibly try to break them up breaks them up, but David's not buying any of it. So finally, he's smart, and they sit down and they have lunch, and then all of a sudden, Charlie comes up out of nowhere.
And David's like, "How'd you find me?" He's like, "Doesn't matter."
He's like, yeah. He's like, "Doesn't matter." He's like, "We gotta go. We got a meeting." And he's like,
and so after what David goes to do, which is announce that he's running once again, Elise goes to do her thing, and the Adjustment Bureau bumps into. They confront David, and they said, "There's a world full of women out there. I thought we established this one was off limits." And David says something awesome. He's like, "It's been a while. I must have forgot." And literally line is, "I love this movie." Like, so at 46 minutes and 50 seconds, David has a realization. The most important thing that he can discover or realize in the whole freaking movie. The Adjustment Bureau does not know why they're not allowed to be together. And as soon as David realized that, because he confronts Richardson, he's like, why is this so important to you? And when he finds out that Richardson doesn't know, that's when all the bets are off. He says, do whatever you will, but you can't stop me. Yeah, like I said, this makes David more determined than ever. I said, have you ever felt like life was against you? This scene is so good, where they're stopping tax. They're not allowing taxis to stop when David's trying to hail them, and he's like, "How many ripples are you creating in the don't these cars have someplace to go?" Right,
which makes sense. It's like, hey, actually that is a perfect a question to ask. It is actually a great.
And when finally they stop stopping taxis, and David gets in one, boom, it gets hit by another car.
Yep.
And so a cop shows up, and he's all, "Oh, we got to get your statement. You can't leave." And David's like,
I gave it to you. Yeah, I gave it to you like 3 or 4 times.
He's like, "You're not even a cop." He goes to the boss, and he's like, "Hey, is this person?" And then he's gone.
Yeah, but he's like, "I got you."
He's like, it's all good. Oh my goodness.
So he finally gets a taxi. He's like, "How do you feel like getting a couple $100, making a couple $100?" And he's like, "Go through every red light."
It's like, this is just gonna keep happening.
Yeah, just keep going. It's just gonna keep going happening. Because Elise tells him that she's a ballet. Sorry, we forgot about that. That she's a ballerina.
Yep.
And tells him like, "Hey, this is a location that."
Right. And so that's where he's going with the taxi, and it's why he's running all the lights, because he's got to get there. Yeah. And so the Adjustment Bureau says that he cannot see her dance, and if he does, it's bad news.
Right. But we even see that the Adjustment Bureau, they're chasing after David. And they're even making and they're even making mistakes, because they're like dropping their hat. They gotta go back to pick it up. They're letting people see that, hey, these doors that they open are opening up to different streets. So they're even messing up, trying to hurry up. It's a great chase scene.
It's so intelligent. But when David gets to Elise at the dance studio at 51 minutes and 21 seconds, you can just see it in his face. He knows she's the one. And, it's been established that they both feel for one another, but I just love the fact that you can feel it, and it just... So, after he meets with her and they get together, we then start to humanize the Adjustment Bureau themselves, which is something I didn't see coming the first time I saw the film. And I love about the film is that you don't just humanize the humans, we even humanize the unhuman characters. Mm-hmm. So at their headquarters, Richardson is pulled into a part of the building he's never been to before. And his superior says, "Have you ever been here?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, of course you haven't, buddy." Basically, mm-hmm. He didn't say nobody, but you go saying like you're less than us. And thus, what it does is his superiors laid out, it wasn't just chance that brought Elise and David together. They were meant to be together in the 70s when he was born, and in the 80s, even into the 90s. It wasn't until 2005 that the plan had changed. And it was established that they were not to be together. So upon being given this information, Richardson then goes and talks to Harry and says, "It wasn't just your bad luck. It wasn't you falling asleep. It was a system working against us." Mm-hmm. And Harry then asks a very important question: how can a plan just change like that? How can it be established for 3 decades and just be nobody cares? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the real big turning point for. Don't get me wrong, Harry had multiple occasions of questioning. But I think when he realized they were originally slated to be together, that's when I think that the real turn for him happened. Mm-hmm. And after that information is passed on to the members of the Adjustment Bureau, we go back to David and Elise. They're playing in the street, going for a run.
Oh yeah, that was
having
cute.
a race.
Yeah, that was cute.
David asks Elise what the rules are. She said there are no rules, so he cheats and he trips her up and they're running. He says, "Well, what happens if I win?" She's like, "Well, I'll dance for you." And if she wins, then he dances for her.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, on the pole?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, if you insist. But yeah, so the Adjustment Bureau, after it's revealed to Harry and Richardson's that things are not going according to plan, they hand up the case to a more experienced person who, as I wrote, is a creepy creeper because he's watching.
Oh yeah,
he's watching them sleep in their bed.
Yeah, I love that. He's just old man and just with a hat, just.
Yeah, he is not in a good mood. He's like, "Why'd you pull me out of my retirement?"
Yeah.
So upon them waking up, David and Elise, thankfully, Creeper Man is gone. I think his name's Donaldson.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So thankfully he's gone. But when Elise wakes up, David is gone, and so he comes back with coffee. Reminds me, I get some more coffee in me. But he comes back with coffee, and Elise is surprised because her ex has called her 4 times?
Yeah. Well, yeah. A phone rings. She sees it's her ex, and she's very like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like talking to him. Even David's like noticing, like, "Okay, what's this about?" And Elise, this is why I love her character. She's honest with him. She's like, "My ex called," and then David's like, "Okay."
How serious was it?
Yeah, she's like, "Well, I was gonna marry him," and then David's smart. He's like, "Hey, how long ago did you guys break up?" She's like 6 months, and then he's like, "Okay, something." He knows like probably the Adjustment Bureau's doing something, but she's honest with him, and he asks, "What made you not want to marry him?"
Oh, it's such a good line.
Right, and then she said,
"You ruined me."
Right, it was you.
Yeah,
you ruined me, and it's like, wow.
I didn't want to settle for less.
Yep. And then he was like, "Hey, I won't hurt you. Like, I will never hurt." Yeah, it's a good.
I just
scene.
looked at my notes. His name's not Donaldson. His name is Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah. So the old Creeper Man is Thompson. So Thompson keeps David from getting to Elise's performance that night, and he tells him, he's like, "Not only will she ruin your dreams, but you'll ruin hers, and she'll be stuck teaching 6-year-olds dance." And
right, because it's basically Thompson says, not basically, he tells him that. You are meant to be the president of the United States. You are meant to do all these great things, but you being with her, that won't happen. And he's like, yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing. So Thompson's laying out. So David says to Thompson, he's like, "What do you mean you control everything?" He was like, "Last time I checked, I have free will." And he was like, "Yeah, you guys have the illusion of free will. You can pick what color tie you wear or what kind of coffee you get, but like all the big stuff, we do that." And I love what David says. He says, "Last time I checked, the world was pretty screwed up. So it's not as if the Adjustment Bureau is doing a very good job of keeping things in order." And he's like, "Well, at least the world ain't over," which I thought was pretty bleak.
Yeah, and Thompson, we don't even know if he's really telling the truth or not. But Thompson says like, "Hey, we did let you guys do what you want to do."
For quite some time.
So for quite some time, we did like 3 different opportunities. He was talking about like World War I was when they took their hands off during there, and World War II and things like that. So it's like, hey, we did, and you guys nearly destroyed yourself, and we intervened right at the Cuban Missile Crisis so that you guys wouldn't destroy yourselves. And it was like, oh, okay. Then you see like, hey, the Adjustment Bureau might be important. It might not be. We don't know if he's lying or telling the truth or not.
And back to that whole not knowing, David says, "Stop talking. It's not working. All I have are the choices I make, and I choose her. Come what may." I was just like, every line of this film is just freaking fire.
But you have to like Thompson a little bit because he actually does give him a choice. And he's like, "Hey, you can be with her, but you're also going to ruin her dreams." And
so Thompson makes it so that Elise hurts her ankle and her performance. And so David and Thompson are in the hospital. And Thompson looks at David and he's like, most of the time people say, "It's not your fault." He's like, "But this was." And like a man with the biggest balls on the planet, he punches that angel out.
Yeah, and then everybody stands up because they're also, it's great.
So, I write here, fear of lobotomy must be strong because I can't imagine keeping this to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So David knows what's going to happen if he tells Elise the truth. And so he abandons her. In the hospital, he leaves her.
Mm-hmm.
And
really sad after he said that he wouldn't hurt her. But you understand.
Yeah, I mean, again, my brain's going to be mush. And they already said, I'm screwing up your life, you're screwing up my life. It's like, what do you do? But yeah, you're right. It's heartbreaking. But 11 months later,
mm-hmm.
Charlie lets David know while out on the campaign that news just hit the newspaper that Elise is engaged again.
Because she's a world famous dancer. Also,
of course,
everything.
And it's just in the newspaper, I've seen engagement announcements before. You just got paid for it.
Okay, I didn't really think about that.
Well,
but
either way is fine. It doesn't matter why it's there. The fact is, Charlie read in the newspaper that this famous dance couple is back together getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And so Charlie tells David, take a day off. Even hell, take a couple days off. We're up 16 points. Not even you can screw that up.
Yeah.
Which is great because that's kind of been a running theme of David's chaos, is that he messed up one of his elections because it came out that he mooned his friends when he was at a college reunion.
Yeah.
And he got drunk and had a bar fight when he was young. And it's implied that he makes bad decisions. And that was even one of the things Thompson used against Elise, is that, oh, she's bad for you. But I've never believed that. I feel it the whole time that, and it gets revealed very soon, and I'm going to say it. Harry comes back, and he says to David that Thompson lied to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that she brings out your worst, it's that she's enough. You don't yearn for the crowd's approval. You don't have to go to the highest mountaintop. She's enough. And I just think, that's just such a good line. It not only is a good line, it's a good way to feel about a relationship. I don't need more. I don't need extra. Life is good, and this is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's so good. So, because David knows Elise is getting married, because Charlie told him, he asks Harry, he's like, I have to go. I have to stop it. I can't let her marry him. And Harry was like, well, they'd never let you. He's like, well, what if you teach me to do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so Harry gives him a hat. They go over all these door plans on how to get there. And I don't know. It was probably, a night, 2 nights, something like that. It wasn't much, but they went over just enough to where that David felt comfortable making a run for it.
Understanding the rules of, hey, you need to turn it clockwise.
Yes, because counterclockwise is for the Adjustment Bureau only.
Right, to where their organization, their building, their headquarters. So it's just enough rules and explanations on what
But again, we don't waste time.
Right.
Things are, it's snappy, it's fun, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, when David gets to the courthouse where Elise is going to get married, he goes to open the door to the courthouse, and her friend, one of the dancers, says she's not in there. And he's like, where is she? And I love the fact that he goes into the women's restroom to talk to her, because that's where they first met, was in the men's restroom. So I just think that there's nice symmetry to that.
Let me talk about this scene, because
Yes.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So David comes into the restroom. Elise the whole time is having second thoughts, because she's thinking of David the whole entire time.
Well, and he just heard her too 11 months ago.
Right, 11 months ago. But he comes in, and then she's taken aback. And you can see she's happy, but also deeply just hurt. And David's like, hey, you're not going to marry this man because you love me, and you're not. And she doesn't yell at him, but she lets him know, hey, you hurt me. You hurt me. Remember that?
Yeah, you left me at the hospital.
Yeah, you told me that you aren't going to hurt me, and you hurt me the most that anyone ever had. And then, all of a sudden, a dude from the adjustment comes through, and David lays him out. Just with one clean punch. And it's so angels can get knocked out. Nice. But David's like, hey, don't worry about him. He's trying to stop us.
So he's trying, not only is that, but he picks up the book and he says, you deserve to know the truth.
Right, yes.
He knows the punishment that is awaiting him if he tells her the truth, but he can't bear the pain that he's feeling from her pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says, you deserve to know the truth. And he
opens a book and shows
her that they belong together, that they've been trying to keep them apart. And he asks her, he says, will you trust me, because these people are after us? So she does trust him, and they go through all these doors and the great paths, and you see Yankee Stadium and the Statue of Liberty. And at the Statue of Liberty, she's like losing her shit. She's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, what the hell?
And he says, all you need to know is that I love you, and I know that you love me. He said, you've got two choices. One, I'll walk through this door by myself, and you'll never have to see me again, because he knows once they get him, he's donezo. Yep. Or two, you come with me, and no matter what happens, I know we'll be okay because we'll be together. And she goes with him. Mm-hmm. And they, instead of turning the door knobs clockwise, they turn them counterclockwise, and they go to the Adjustment Bureau.
Yep. And everybody's like, hey, you're not supposed
to be here.
Hey, you're just
but they're not built to fight, so nobody knows what to do. They're getting pushed over.
Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, they're not built to fight. I never thought about that, because I was like, why don't?
Well, because they can in natural time, if they're given the order, they can stop things and adjust it. So just like they don't think about that the hats and the this and the that, they're not made for this, and so they work their way up to the penthouse, but then they get on the roof and they're stuck, David and Elise, and then that's when Thompson comes back and he's like, him and his big crew, he's all like, did you think you were going to get to the chairman and change your fate?
Oh, but before someone gets Harry, it's like, hey, the head man, the chairman wants to see you. So that was minutes before.
But it's while they're running in the building, and so while they're on the rooftop, that's when Elise tells David, she says that she does love him, and they kiss, and at that moment, Thompson and his crew, they disappear. At first, I thought, upon original viewing, I was like,
wait, wasn't it the guards were there, and then they kiss, and it goes in a circle, and then Thompson appears, and he goes, you thought you were...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. So the guards, they dissipate, but Thompson is there. He's like, oh, you thought you could do this, but then Harry walks up, he passes along paperwork to Thompson, and it's revealed to David and Elise that their paths have been changed to open-ended. It's carte blanche. It's yours. You do it. Mm-hmm. We're done adjusting you. And so Harry takes back his hat and he tells them they can take the stairs. And it's not told to us what happens to either of their careers, but the important thing that we do know is that they are together. And I mean, isn't that what you want? Mm-hmm. Like, we don't need to know the answer to everything. You just got to know that there is hope and that things can work out.
Right. And then now they know that, hey, there are people watching, because you see like the Adjustment Bureau people walking through. And you see Harry one last time saying, hey, good luck to you guys.
I love it.
Right. And then, it was good. It was a good final scene.
So, I know I said it earlier, but 5 out of 5. I every time I watch this movie, I get the chills. I'm just like, I feel it. It makes, this is the kind of writing I want to give to people. Like, I want them to feel something. And I will say, can you hold that for a second? I do know from at least a couple of experiences that people do feel things when they read Everlasting Survivors all day long. Limited quantity is still available at Etsy.com. And so, if you haven't watched The Adjustment Bureau, watch The Adjustment Bureau. It's so great. If you haven't read Everlasting Survivors, read Everlasting Survivors. Like the video. Comment below. Have you seen it? Will you watch it? Share this video with your friends. Mm-hmm. Turn on notifications so you know when videos go live.
Right. And the next movie that we'll review is The Spirit. So stay for that.
I thought we were going to do that this time, but I just couldn't bring myself to watch the damn thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. After that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for reminding me, because like every time I see that, I'm like, nah, I don't feel like it.
I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so glad you got to enjoy the movie for the first time.
Oh yeah, thank you for recommending.
Yeah, I'm so glad I got to watch it again. You go watch it. Go read the book. See you next time.
See ya.